Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast. Today we have with us Shreya Svoboda. Did I get it?
Yeah, you got
Oh,
it.
good. Practiced and practiced. She's an Ayurvedic traditional healer who specializes in helping people overcome hair loss and thinning hair problems. Welcome to the show, Shreya.
Thank you, Jill.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so
So,
glad. I'm excited to kind of talk about what your journey was that led you to coming up with helping people with thinning hair problems, because it really is a big deal
yeah,
to a lot of people.
yeah, it is. Um, I'm gonna backpedal just a little bit. I don't know that very many people know what Ayurveda is just yet. Um, it's definitely growing in popularity, but it's still kind of a mysterious word. Ayurveda means life wisdom, and it's based on the five elements and the way that they meet inside of our body, and the way that we can manipulate them through our lifestyle, food, habits, thoughts. And it's from ancient India. It's over 10,000 years old. It's an oral tradition, and it's been protected by families who have taught students that met certain qualifications to learn this knowledge. And we're losing it to the university system now, which is interesting because Ayurveda is an incredible science, but there's also a lot of mysticism inside of Ayurveda. And that mysticism is taught through incredible self-discipline. Tapasya is what we call it. And there are various ways to do that, but we're not going to talk about that today. And I come from the traditional classical teachings. I learned under a guru in a gurukulam. I studied for 12 years under her tutelage. And then I also have a board certification from NAMA, which is the National Ayurvedic Medical Association in the United States. So I've had a private practice for over 13 years, and I recently shifted into hair loss because I think Ayurveda is actually a little bit overwhelming. Like, yeah, that sounds great, but what can it do for me? And so narrowing in on how Ayurveda can help with hair helps people find me also. And I came to this through my own struggles. I was wearing extensions for some years because my hair was thinning because of my own issues around health, which I can share if you want to talk about it. And then when I moved to Sicily about a year and a half ago, I started pulling out chunks of hair when we were moving my extensions, and my daughter said she wouldn't put them back in my hair. And at first I was mortified, also because my husband was going to see me with all of these bald patches, and I really thought I was going to have to wear a wig, and I didn't actually think that my relationship would survive this kind of appearance. And also because I'm a health practitioner, and to have such obvious signs of ill health, I was afraid would hurt my practice. But I was alone in the house in Sicily, and I said, okay, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do everything that Ayurveda says to do to grow back your hair, and I'm gonna see what happens, because nobody's gonna see me with oily hair or herbs in my hair or all the crazy things that I thought I was going to have to do. For over 20 years, I've been trying to make an herbal shampoo that didn't leave behind a greasy residue. Because even though I really like natural products, I want to be able to work in the corporate world. And there are some requirements to do that. You know, we can't have greasy hair in this country. In India, it's a totally different thing. Everybody has oil in their hair and nobody cares. That's kind of freeing.
No, it is really freeing.
Yeah,
My
it
daughter's
looks
like that.
great.
I used to wash my hair every day,
Mm,
and my daughter's like, "Don't do that, Mom." She's
mm,
young.
mm.
And she doesn't wash her hair every day. She washes her hair, I think, once, maybe twice a month.
Oh,
But
good
her
for
hair
her.
doesn't look real oily. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I think your hair, if you don't wash it that much, but you brush it every day, it doesn't get oily as fast. So,
Yeah, so this actually, different people have different hair types. Ayurveda talks about the three body types and the doshas, which I'm sure many people have heard about. And it's a combination of elements that express themselves inside of the individual's physiology. And this kind of decides what kind of hair we're going to have, if it's dry and brittle, or light and fluffy, or thick and heavy, or if it gets greasy quickly or not. And so taking someone's individual physiology into account is always going to be the first step in understanding, well, how much hair can we actually grow eventually? Because everyone has their limitations.
mhm.
And then, so I'm someone who needs to wash my hair every 3 days because I have more pitta, I have more fire, and fire is has has an oily relationship, unfortunately. And so I have to do the every 3 day thing. But I finally found an herbal solution that is based on Ayurvedic ancient herbs, ancient hair care, that is also used in North Africa, in Iran. There's a lot of crossover there, and probably other countries too. And there is no greasy residue whatsoever. It's so this is my hair when I had extensions. It's the same
It's
thickness.
thick. We're doing a podcast too, so I'm going to describe it for people. She has
Okay.
very thick, luscious, slightly curly hair that does not look greasy and does not have extensions, and it's like
Yeah.
it's
No,
amazing.
no extensions.
Yeah, and she's holding her hair up so I can see that there are no extensions.
Yeah. Um, and that took about a year to grow. And I still feel like it's recovering. And I didn't really start to see a significant change until 6 months after, which is pretty normal for regrowing hair, because hair is actually related to our reproductive tissue health. And this is the last tissue in our body that gets fed from the nutrients that we eat. And so there are 7 tissues in the body, and it takes 30 days for the leftover nutrients to reach our shukra dhatu, which is the reproductive tissue. And this decides what our hair is going to be like. And so we had a joke in class about me and my extensions. I would say, oh, it's my fake shukra dhatu, because people look at like your sensuality, or they judge your sensuality and your sexual vitality, even though people don't talk about that. I think it's just like instinct, right? We look at people's hair and this is something that we find attractive about them. And that's because it signals to our animalistic self that this person is healthy to reproduce. So for women, we lose nutrients every month through our menstrual cycle, which is also why we have a lower calcium in our body. And this, of course, also relates to our hair health, right? And so there's there's something called Vajikaran, which means ready like a horse. And it's a therapy which rebuilds the Shukra Dhatu, the reproductive tissue of the body. And there's a series of cleansing that you need to go through before you can go through that therapy, because the food that you eat during that time is very heavy and very nourishing. And we have to make sure that the body is actually able to absorb the nutrients instead of having it turn into toxicity. So when our digestion is low, we end up creating something we call which is Sanskrit for toxicity in the body, which is just undigested food, basically. And it can block the channels and microdigestion that needs to happen on that cellular level that feeds our reproductive tissue, which is also, if we get a cut on our skin, that's our reproductive tissue that's closing that cut on our skin. I feel like I'm rambling here now, Jill.
No, it's fascinating. I'm just like, okay, tell me more. So,
sure, yeah, tell you more.
tell-
So there are different reasons why an individual might have hair loss. It's not just one reason. Hair is really about full body health. One person may have hair loss because of obesity, not because they eat a lot emotionally and they've gained some weight, but actual pathological obesity, which is categorized as a disease in Ayurveda, where the nutrients actually stops at the level of the fat tissue and cannot get to the deeper tissues of the bone and the reproductive tissue, which is why you will see that many obese people actually have very, very thin hair, and they also are prone to breaking bones more often than someone who is, let's say, in their optimal state of health, because we have so many different body types, right? So that's one reason. Then there's just stress, overthinking, which strangely depletes the body. I don't know that it's actually that strange. Our brain eats up most of our energy, right? And there's some people who talk too much, listen to too much music, think too much, and then they lose their hair. Or you could have blockage in other areas, or you're just not able to digest the nutrients that you're eating, or the food that you're eating is incorrect for the time of year or for your body type, or the exercise that you're doing is actually being done at the wrong time of day, or or wrong for your particular body type. So those are some of the various reasons that could be affecting hair.
That's really fascinating. I honestly haven't really thought about hair that much. It's just like, other than what my daughter told me, and I do
Right.
tend to listen to my daughter. She's pretty smart when it comes to these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But so do you work with people one-on-one? Does everybody get worked on one-on-one? Or do you have group things? Do you have
I've mostly worked with people one-on-one. I'm kind of bubbling with doing some spring cleanses and moving into kind of group sessions, but I'm still working on what that looks like, because Ayurveda is so specialized in treating the individual, and because Ayurveda is based on the idea that you can't make a blanket statement. You can't give one medicine for everyone. It's not going to work. So when we get into the group stuff, I think we can do a lot of seasonal support around understanding what can be eaten at different seasons to really strengthen the digestion, strengthen the body. But I think that individual support in Ayurveda is really key.
It sounds like you'd maybe do like a combination
Mm-hmm.
group and then private coaching to
Mm-hmm.
really kind of
Yeah.
help them get the most out of that, or at least an onboarding call where you'd go over everything for them personally, and then you could work as a group with them
I like
around
that
it.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, you were talking about the shampoo that you're developing. Have you,
Mhm.
you're just using it for yourself? Do you sell it?
I'm trying to sell it. I have a manufacturing unit that I've partnered with, and
Mm.
there have been some employee problems over the holidays. And it's Italy, and things move very slowly in Italy, much like Mexico, if you have any experience there. Or maybe everywhere in the world except the
Except the
United
United
States.
States, I think really does work that way. Maybe
Right,
some countries in the Orient, but
right, right. And Germany, I mean, they're pretty fantastic. Switzerland, yes, they're on top of things. I have a friend in the UK, and she's like, no, things don't work the same here. It's slow and the quality is not as good, but there are other great things. Um, right. So, shampoo, it's on its way. I'm trying. It'll be here. Um, it's a dry powder. You put water into a squeeze bottle and you add the powder and you shake it up, and then it's ready to go. Um, Part of what I love about Ayurveda is that it's extremely conscientious around protecting not just the human organism, but the animal and plant life. And while we can't live without leaving behind some waste, it's really about doing the best we can to minimize that. And that's something I love very, very much.
so are you going to be packaging it in like a paper sort of
Yeah,
biodegradable,
yeah, there
as
will
it's
be.
going to be? That's awesome. I
Yeah,
like that on so many different levels. That's really,
thank you.
to let me know when you get it.
You will
Get it in
know.
stock because I want to buy it. I'm all about that. I know there are other companies out there that are really looking at closing down their footprint. We've just
Mhm.
plastics have come in and like took over our world for about 30 or 40 years. And
Yeah,
now people are realizing that this is not sustainable. This is gross and it's just making a big mess everywhere. And I love seeing the new packaging that's coming out around, if you're shipping a powder, you can ship it in paper. It's okay.
yeah. I'm also pretty excited about some of the companies that have really taken it as their responsibility to make changes. And that's why I actually opened a corporation myself. I'm not a business person. I'm still learning about business. I'm
Mhm.
definitely someone who wants to be alone and isolated and in the woods. But um I felt like business is really how we make a difference, at least in the United States. And that's where I felt like my political voice would maybe have more power. Um, yeah.
And I think just, the little things like creating a sustainable shampoo. We all need shampoos. I I have experience making soap. I
Yeah.
had goats and I make goat's milk soap
Oh, nice.
um from scratch. So
That's lovely.
I know people who also make soap that they use that soap on their hair.
Mm,
I'm not entirely certain it's all that great for your hair to
mm,
use soap on your hair. Even if it's, what all the ingredients are. I think that
mm,
there's things about our hair that when you're stripping all that
mhm.
oil out, you're also kind of damaging the the actual body of the hair, and
Yeah.
it's not really good for it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the best we can do for our hair is to keep the natural oils in it, um, removing dirt and buildup. Part of what happens when we use detergents on our hair is that it does break down those oils, and we lose the good oils with the funky stuff that we want to get rid of too. And that was my struggle with that's why it took me 20 years to get a shampoo that left my hair light and fluffy. I tried the bars. It left behind a residue that for thicker hair, I noticed that it worked really well. The thicker hair strand. I have a very fine hair strand, and it just weighed down my hair, and I looked like I'd been on a backpacking trip for a while. um, the lye in the soap can sometimes be pretty intense, like even on my hands, it can be pretty drying. I know not all bar soaps are that way, but I haven't made so many bar soaps that I can tell you the difference. um,
Well, there's
and
a
then
trade-off between
right,
the fats and the lye. That's the
right,
saponification is the combination, the chemical combination of the two of them. And you're
right.
either going to end up like with a little bit of oil left over, which is going to stay in your hair,
Mm,
or you're going to end up on the weaker side where there's a little bit of lye left, and
mm, mm,
it's
mm.
going to strip.
Right.
Base is just like acid in terms of destructive qualities.
Lye is
Most people
very
don't think about it.
heating. I mean, it,
Mhm.
it can burn, it burns your skin, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
only reason it doesn't is because it's been processed with fat. Yeah.
yeah.
And fat has cooling and heavy qualities. So we're getting into kind of Ayurveda speak, which is exciting. Um, so the cooling and heavy qualities of the fat are balancing the burning qualities of the lye. And this is also how we approach food, and the physiology of the individual. So we apply opposites to bring things into balance in the body,
That's
just
really
like with the
fascinating.
soap. Yeah.
Hmm. I'll have to investigate that more. I honestly don't know that much about Ayurvedic practices, and I have struggled with the word itself. It sounds like it's supposed to sound in my head when I say it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then it never comes out of my mouth that way.
One of my colleagues has the worst accent. We started school together. That's okay. She's a great practitioner.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
some words we struggle with. Other
Yeah,
words are
yeah.
fine. So, are you are you working on actually creating a line of cosmetics, or are you just going to focus on the shampoo? Where's your practice going?
Yeah. There have been some funding issues, and what it's come down to is, okay, I'm going to get one out on the market, and then we'll go from there. And I struggle with my enthusiasm because I get so excited about some of the things that I've made. And but I need to do the one. I also have a vaginal suppository for yeast infections and herpetic outbreaks, which is based on um, the traditional birth control method in India. Um, I'm looking for funding for that. I made a skincare line for psoriasis, and I've dropped that project. I don't know if I will take it up again.
Hmm,
Um, if the shampoo goes well, we'll go into the conditioner and the rest of the line that goes with it. Um, honestly, I mean, I use the shampoo. I've used it for well over a year now. My family uses it. My friends use it. Um, and they all have like, so my daughter has really tight ringlets, and they were always frizzy before. Now they're not. They're nice and smooth. And my husband also has ringlets that get frizzy, and now they don't. He has a bald spot, which is now growing back. I'm a little bit cautious about saying that because I don't actually know if it's coming or going or staying. We'll see.
It's amazing how sometimes just, changing shampoo or um, changing your diet can
mhm,
really affect hair growth. I know there's, the male pattern baldness thing that we've been taught to believe, but I think it's really a
right,
result of all of those things that you were talking about earlier that, you know, it used to just be men that would
right,
lose their hair, but those men, they had to wear hats, a lot of
right.
them, and hats are really bad for circulation in your scalp.
Mm,
And like military men, almost all of them
mm,
are balding because they have to
right,
wear those hats all the time. Um, and and it was popular in our culture, and especially the United States, but really everywhere for men to wear hats. Women wore
right,
hats too, but women would fix their hair, and their hats were more of a decoration
right,
than an actual fit on your head and cut off the circulation in your scalp.
right, right.
And I do wonder if that doesn't play into why the balding epidemic around men happens.
I don't know.
I don't know
I'm
either.
sure that if we are wearing something tight around our head every day, that's gotta have a effect. Um, that men actually run hotter than women. Um, I don't know if you heard about that they did some sort of, I think NPR was talking about how men and women were uncomfortable in the office working together because the men always wanted to turn the thermostat down and the women wanted to turn it up. And when we have excess heat in our body, it generally affects the quality of our hair or how much hair we are able to keep over time. I mean, naturally, we're going to lose hair as we get older because we're going through different stages of life and slowly losing our vitality. That's just natural. Um, but definitely heat and testosterone are also related. Men held the responsibility of taking care of the family along, I guess that's changing, right? um I'm sure that there must be some amount of worry and anxiety and stress that can create also. And then you're talking about military men, and I was just thinking about like, well, okay, yeah, they're wearing hats, but then what is military life like? You have PTSD, you have and one of the main symptoms of PTSD is not being able to sleep. And if you're not going to bed on time at night and you're sleeping odd hours, you are totally going to lose your hair.
Yeah, it makes
um,
your hair really thin.
yeah.
I know a lot of women who work weird hours and
Hmm.
they universally have hair problems.
Right. And then drinking and smoking, that's really heating and drying to the body, and directly affects the reproductive health. Even Western science will say that, right?
Mhm.
Um, what else is, people are doing a lot of drugs these days too. That doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
No, no, no.
It's really drying,
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm. And
more popular relaxing drug.
yeah, the pharmaceutical drugs. So like even ibuprofen, for example, from the Ayurvedic perspective, it disturbs the blood and it creates, so while you're getting some relief in the moment, it actually contributes in the long term with long-term use, a kind of disturbance in in the health of the blood and the balance of the blood in the body. And I take ibuprofen if I need it. I just don't take it when I don't really need it. You know, I try to do something else. So I don't want to say like, don't take pharmaceutical medicine. I absolutely, allopathy, Western medicine is a magic. It's an emergency medicine, and it has its place in this world, and I have a lot of respect for it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't take ibuprofen unless it's like really, really bad. That
Mm-hmm.
ibuprofen, I would say, saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, I had endometriosis really bad for like 20 years before I
Okay.
was able to figure out what it was. And
Mm-hmm.
the doctor that told me what it was um, told me that if I took ibuprofen, it would help a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like magic for me. I mean, it was so painful, and then it was not.
That's wonderful that you were able to get relief.
Yeah, but it's a pharmaceutical drug, and I'm mostly against them, but like you
Mm-hmm.
said, there is a place for them, and you know, if you need them, use them. I think it's better
Yeah,
for your body if it's not in pain. In pain is a signal that you need to do something to change the situation. And then I was able
right.
to I actually had surgery, and
Mm.
they fixed it, and I didn't have problems after that. But
Wonderful. Wonderful.
actually, it
Yeah,
made
so
me infertile,
mm,
and I ended up
mm,
after the surgery because the lesions had wrapped around my fallopian tubes. I had three more
mm.
children after that. So it's like kind of cool.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. What an amazing story.
So,
What you reminded me of actually in the very beginning of the classical texts for Ayurveda, they tell it in story form because it's an oral tradition. And the teacher says to the students, okay, all of you must go and bring me back something that can't be used as medicine. And so I think there's like 5 students, let's say, I'm just making a number, I don't really remember. And they all go, and they come back, 4 of them come back, and they all have something. And the 5th is gone for a very, very long time. And the 4 students are complaining, maybe something happened to him, he's never coming back. And the teacher says, oh, wait, he's going to come. So eventually he comes back, and he has nothing with him. And the teacher goes through with the 4 students and asks them what they got. And they explain why they think it can't be used. And the 5th student, he says, well, why didn't you bring anything back? And he said, well, teacher, I couldn't find anything that couldn't be used as medicine in this world, on this planet. And so Ayurvedic herbs, traditional Ayurvedic herbs from India, are not available everywhere in the world, of course. But when we have this understanding of how the elements work, we're able to innovate and make medicine in the moment when we need it. If we remember that anything can be used as medicine. And I think about this with the Western medicine as well. I mean, the pharmaceutical drugs are medicine. It's when we use it when we don't need to, or we use it to work more harder instead of listening to our bodies and resting while also getting a little bit of relief while we heal. I think that's culturally pretty difficult for us to understand, that if we're in pain, it means that it's time to rest. Don't take a drug to cover it up so you can keep on going. You're going to pay for that.
yeah, you're just doing more damage along the way.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay,
And
so I have a website, www.alba.albadelmonte.com. I'm feeling that we should write that down because it's not easy.
I'll put
It's
that in the show notes.
ALBADALMONTE.com, and it means sunrise from the mountaintop, which is a reference to the volcano that I live under here in Sicily that's active. And I can't believe that I moved to the foot of an active volcano. But if you want to get a hold of
We have
me,
warning
that's
systems
where
now.
So yes, if you would like to get a hold of me, you can go to my website and you can drop me a message there. You can also find me on Facebook under Shreya Svoboda. Yeah.
Again, too. And I know you offer a call with people to help them just determine where they're at with their hair health. I want to talk about that a minute.
Yeah, so I offer a hair health strategy call, and it's really an opportunity for us to get to chat and for you to see how you feel about me and my methods, because it's really important that we go into a healing relationship feeling aligned, because it's not going to help either one of us otherwise. And then we can also talk about kind of what's been done already, how you felt about that, and what you're hoping to get moving forward. Yeah.
Awesome. So what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today? What do you hope they take away from our conversation?
Well, I think we touched kind of randomly on a lot of different subjects, actually. But I think the one thing I would say, like whether you know Ayurveda or not, or if you're struggling with hair health or not, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling sick, get back in with nature, go outside, lay on the ground. It's grounding.
Yeah.
I had a client the other day contact me, and she said she was having like an emergency moment. And I just said, you can roll on the floor. Roll on the floor and exaggerate your emotions. And why is this related to hair health? Well, because when we keep things inside, it comes out as disease. And if it's emotional stress, I mean, everyone has their weak points in their body that will express. But oftentimes it comes as hair loss, especially for women these days.
Yeah, that's so true. I like the idea of rolling around on the ground. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure. It helps. I swear by it.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to give it a go. Thanks for joining me today. It's been really interesting.
I'm sure. Thank you, Jill. Thanks for having me.